So joining us today is Jesse Cornick of Nave Analytics. Where are we reaching out to today, Jesse?
I'm located in central Nebraska.
Central Nebraska. Okay, great. Yeah,
Yeah,
oftentimes we have our visitors here in studio, but today was great to get you online here.
a little bit of a trek for me to get up there.
All right, no worries, no worries. But the weather's lovely. So you're in the analysis business for irrigation, correct?
Yep, we are providing additional data to help inform irrigation decisions as well as some things around planting as well.
Water consumption is obviously a big concern all around the planet. What got you
Yes.
into this analysis business with Nave?
So I grew up in Minnesota, so plenty of water, a lot of tiling to actually get water off of fields. And then I moved to central Nebraska to begin my career in ag. And obviously, farming is different everywhere, but here in Nebraska, I was very amazed that they grew corn and sand and then had to water it all year, So it was just kind of an early fascination because I didn't grow up with it. And so I think that I also saw all of the inefficiencies as well. And so, being in an ag research type of career, I was just always really fascinated with how we could do better. We do need irrigated agriculture around the world, but there's plenty of room for efficiencies. And so, one of those ways is through just better information about how much water the crop actually needs, and is the whole field the same or is it different? And so that's really kind of what started shaping my career and where my interests drew me, and through a couple of different iterations, but now here at Nave Analytics.
Great. So, when you're selling a product to growers, they're oftentimes interested in what's the specific problem you're solving for them. So, what's
Yep.
the specific problem that Nave solves for growers around the world?
So it is a simple, scalable solution to have better information to make decisions from. So we don't have to require any sensors in the field, not a lot of upfront data input or even in-season data input. So it's just a really simple solution to be able to have a better understanding about what's happening in the field, current status, what it might look like in a week, information all the way across the boundary. So we do really focus on row crop and larger field sizes, where even having a sensor or a couple of sensors in a field is giving you a partial view of what's happening out there. We can provide information for every pixel across that boundary.
Great. Farming's been going on for millennia, of course. What
Yeah.
a better question is how were things done in the past before technologies like yours?
Yeah, I mean, so in the whole scale of agriculture, irrigation is very new, right? We've only been irrigating, and especially like the invention of mechanical pivot engine irrigation and things like that is less than 100 years. And so in that 100 years, we have made significant changes to our water resources. I'm, positioned over the Ogallala Aquifer, and we're seeing significant reduction in that aquifer and things like that. So if we are not careful, we won't have water to irrigate with. So, for the first 50, 60 years of irrigating heavily, the idea was, there's a lot of water under the surface. Let's just water, right? And there wasn't a lot of mind to efficiency and how we can do it better. And then over the last 15, 20 years, we've really started seeing the effects of heavily irrigated areas and the reduction of our water resources and things like that. So as the agriculture community, if we aren't good stewards with our resources, somebody else is going to tell us that we can't water anymore, right? So by understanding better what's happening in the field, we can be more efficient, applying water only when the crop needs it, and actually be able to sustain the process for longer if we're able to irrigate more efficiently, and can stop drawing down aquifers, things like that. We're going to have that resource available to us longer. So with Nave, we're not trying to reduce yield or significantly reduce application or things like that. It's figuring out how we take the water that we have and use it exactly when the crop needs it most.
Understand. So use some technology for this. Why don't you tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
how it's all done?
Yeah, so we have some patented technology that we've developed here at Nave. So we use satellite data as our sensor. So we're measuring things from the sky. So we use a couple of different pieces of satellite data, one that's looking at soil moisture, one that's looking at the crop and how that crop is actually producing. We bring in weather information, soil texture information, information about how much water is being applied through irrigation. We bring all of those pieces into our modeling system that models the crop growth as well as the hydrology of how water moves through the profile and things like that. And from there, we're able to produce information like current soil moisture all the way across the boundary, current crop water use information, drought potential, leaching potential, things like just tracking how much water has the crop used to this point, how much has been applied through rainfall or irrigation, and having kind of that tracking back and forth.
So I assume as you've been developing this and, using some newer, more advanced technologies, you've run into some technological challenges. Can you tell us about any of those?
Yeah, so I'm very, very lucky to have one of my co-founders, geospatial remote sensing scientist, so has extreme expertise in the area of using satellite data in agriculture, both in nitrogen as well as in water. So he was really the one that had the idea of being able to use this new remote sensing technology that was coming to market in this manner. And so he's developed the kind of back end system and all of the modeling and things that go on top of it. Any new technology, there's struggles. We're finding some certain use cases where we don't quite fit. Always user interface, how we build an app that farmers actually want to use. So that continues to be iterations of figuring out what data is most important, what do they actually want to see, what could they care less about, how do we need to display it to be easy to interpret. So I think it's less of just like troubles and roadblocks and more of just a learning curve and figuring out how we get to a product that is really, really useful for our customers.
Water usage is very important all around the world for growers, of course. So,
Yeah.
as you try to scale your technology to other markets or other parts of the world, what are some challenges that you've either seen or that you anticipate seeing as you get into some other countries?
Yeah, so we are looking right now global expansion. The beauty of the technology that we've created is that we can really produce data on any field around the world. So as we look at different geographies, crop types is a big thing. Just being able to have good growth curves for different crops around the world. Another thing is just the trust. So when a foreign company comes into a new place and having to understand how relationships work in that area. So we have been trying to work with local partners as we enter new markets and making sure that we have somebody local that is willing to represent us and knows how agriculture works in that geography. So trying to overcome those that way. Other than that, like all of our data sources are global data sources. So really producing the data is kind of the easy part. Just making sure that we're fitting and supplying a tool that is useful for the way that farming is done in each different geography.
And as you mentioned it, expanding it, the communications and cultural differences of different
Yep.
markets are a challenge to overcome. But once you've overcome them, built that trust, and shown that you have the product, oftentimes you can build great alliances in these different continents that you're dealing with.
Yep.
Do you guys consider yourself a startup at this stage, or to tell us about the structure of the company and how you've built it so far?
Yeah, so we're definitely still startup stage. So we founded the company in 2021. Took some time to kind of build out our technology, but then the founders went full time in May of 23. So we've really been full time at this for about 2 years now. Been commercial for a year. So we did have a commercial season in 2024, starting our second commercial season here in the US. But at this stage, we're definitely still startup. We did go the route of VC venture-backed capital. So we are kind of on that path of raising some money up front so that we can grow and scale and build the company a little bit faster. So that's kind of the path that we're on right now.
Are you actively raising more capital now?
We are. Yep. So we did a small pre-seed round to really just kind of get a little bit of traction, get through that first growing season, and now we are raising our seed round. So we are actively looking for investors in that round.
So often when you're at this stage of growing a company, the capital is useful, of course, but there's also value in strategic investors. Can you kind of paint a picture of what a strategic investor in a company like yours might be able to bring to the table, or maybe a need that you would have for a strategic investor?
Yeah, so we are, right now we are really working a lot directly to farmers and agronomists. But as we kind of build this company and grow it up, we want to be more of a data as a service company. So we want to work with other established companies and just get our data flowing through those systems rather than having our own platform. There's, plenty of different places for farmers to log in and look at data. Looking for partnerships and strategics that are interested in this kind of data, or maybe incorporating it into some of the offerings, or, some of the different, depending on the company or strategic, the research that they're doing, or internal business, that kind of things. And then the other space is the three co-founders. We are all science minded. All of our backgrounds are science, and so
Bunch of science nerds is what you're trying to say?
we are a pile of science nerds trying to figure out how to run a business. You bet. For our side, investors and partners that can help us in figuring out how we build this thing, scale this thing. This is all our first time founders. So two of us have had a previous startup experience. We were early employees at another startup, but this is our first founding experience. And so a partner that can really help on more of the business and growth side of things will be one of our targets this time.
Well, it's a great and smart thing to do, because you can come up with a lot of great ideas, but if you can't generate revenue
Yeah.
to sustain them
Yep.
and potentially scale them, those great
Yeah,
ideas go by the wayside sometimes. So you're in this space in AgTech, in remote sensing. Where do you see the field of remote sensing going in agriculture over the next 5 years?
Yeah. I wish Val was here to answer that question. He has all sorts of great ideas about what remote sensing can be in agriculture. But what I see is that I have been working with using tools that have been using remote sensing in ag for about 10 years now. Maybe we can go to 11. Starting to feel like a big number. But the advancements of the technology are making it so much more applicable to ag. So remote sensing, is huge in, defense and all sorts of different industries. And in ag, it's been, kind of just on more of surface level, like scouting images and how do we kind of identify potential areas and fields and things like that. But it's been limited based on resolution and frequency of images. During a growing season, a crop changes so much in 7 days that if we get too long in between an image, you're not having the ability to make real, kind of live decisions from it. So the advancement of technologies that we're seeing are just higher resolution, higher frequency. So that is really what allowed us to start Nave, is that this technology is now daily at a resolution that is useful for row crop production, right? And then we're also seeing getting beyond just wavelength and visual stuff into more measurements and variables and things like that can actually be very calibrated and used in additional data and additional modeling easier than something like NDVI or that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm really excited about what the future for remote sensing can be. I think that there's a ton of potential, and especially we're a little bit biased towards like commodity crop or larger acre production. I think that the potential that satellite has there is just broader coverage at a cost effective price point.
As you mentioned, you had a full commercial season and then obviously
Yep.
R&D leading up to this. What are some
Yeah.
of the, what are some of the data points that your customer or metrics that your customers are really asking about or that you feel they're very interested in relation to your product?
Yeah, so our biggest thing is accuracy. Obviously, that's the soil moisture. They don't believe that we can monitor soil moisture from the sky, right? And so we've done a lot of comparison, and really the back end system, the models are trained based on soil moisture sensor data. And so we do a lot of comparisons to in-field soil moisture sensors. We try to get as fair a comparison as possible. So wanting to make sure that we're looking at a sensor that is, correctly installed and calibrated and is giving good information. And then from our side, we drill down to the actual individual pixel over where that sensor would be installed. So that's getting as close to a direct comparison as possible. When we're doing that, we're finding that our soil moisture is within about 90% accuracy of the soil moisture probe. So we feel pretty good about that based on, the other benefits that we provide, cost effectiveness, scalability, data all the way across the field. So that's really kind of the biggest one that we see. We do have, crop water use, so that comes back to ET. So comparing our ET models to kind of, tried and true crop ET models. But yeah, those are kind of the bigger ones.
Great. So to the extent you can talk about this as your company is looking forward, are there different types of products you're looking at integrating in or developing, different types of growth you're looking at, and maybe even some partnerships that you'd be interested in?
Yeah. Yeah. So right now, our flagship product is Nave Grow. So that's our kind of in season, growing season analytics. We have taken that kind of base technology and applied that to preseason. So we have Nave Plant as well as in beta this year. So just kind of getting it out there across the makers, getting some feedback. Everything comes back good with that. That will be a full product for the next growing season. But that is looking at ideal planting windows, soil moisture, and seed bed moisture leading up to planting. So understanding, is that field too wet? Is it too dry? When might be the best time to actually plant that field. So we have been able to kind of transfer the base technology to a planting tool. We also have a tool that is more targeted at like the water management agencies. So here in Nebraska, we have natural resource districts that are responsible for managing the water resources and allocations and things like that in different parts of the state. So we can work with agencies like that to provide kind of information all the way across their district or their watershed, whatever their area is. So we've been kind of developing some additional tools and analytics for those folks. And then in the future, as the data that we use, the remote sensing data that we use is getting in an up-res really soon. So right now, the soil moisture data that we use is 100-meter resolution. 20-meter resolution is coming out very shortly. So we're beginning to test that resolution and see, do the same models to fit and all of that stuff. But then that opens up potential to smaller field sizes. So things like maybe specialty crops, potentially green spaces, sports fields, golf courses, things like that. So that could be something in the future. And then we're looking, for partners in different parts of the world. I kind of mentioned it before, but as we expand to new geographies, we really want to work with local partners. So looking to find some other, ag businesses, whether they're in the digital space or maybe they want to, for whatever reason, get into some irrigation management data. We want to work with them, through them, get our data through existing platforms that way. So, we're looking for expansion kind of globally. So, yeah.
Great. Well, there's a lot of opportunity there. Um,
Yeah.
You had mentioned earlier, you mentioned your team. You mentioned three
Yep.
scientists, and maybe there's more of your team, but talk to us about you three and what are your
Yep.
backgrounds and how'd you all come together?
Yeah. So my background is primarily agronomy and ag research. So I've spent most of my career either out in test plots or recruiting farmers to do different trials and then making sure the data comes in properly and things like that. So I've been mostly kind of in the field and working directly with who is our customer. Val Kowalski is our CTO. He is our geospatial scientist. He is the brain behind the operation, the one that has really developed the technology that we operate off of. And then Bradley Griggs is our COO. He's also a science background, but more meteorology, GIS, but has really kind of had a lot of different experiences throughout his career in both, research heavy stuff as well as, portfolio management, product development, things like that. So he really fills the gaps and in startup, you just do all the things that need to get done. So we're still a very small team. We're the 3 co-founders. And then we were lucky enough to find a really great intern that has just never left us. So he works part-time with us now as he's finishing up his college degree. And then will be coming on more full-time with us here after graduation. So still a very small team.
As a grower, why don't you give me the quick pitch of your product and, what are the questions you'd want to know from me as a grower on if this product would be a good fit for me?
Yeah, so we are primarily, our differentiation is soil moisture monitoring without having to have additional sensors in the field. So providing daily information about soil moisture, crop water use, leaching potential, drought potential, having kind of all of that data at your fingertips whenever you want to make an irrigation decision. So whether you're somebody that looks on Sunday and makes a plan for the week, or if you're somebody that kind of checks back to each day and is kind of iterating as you go throughout the week, our platform really is able to support a lot of different ways of irrigating. So we're not providing direct recommendations because we feel like there is a lot of things that we can't model that go into making an irrigation recommendation, right? Like if you're here in Nebraska and other places around the world, you have low control, if you're electricity well and different things like that. So there's a lot of factors that we can't anticipate. And so if we give a recommendation, we're likely to be wrong. But if I tell you the current soil moisture status, how much water the crop is currently using, what the next week forecast looks like, all of those pieces are right there to be able to make a really informed and efficient decision. So
framed another way, I, as an experienced grower, would say that I'd be coming to you for the data points, but I'm going to rely upon some of my own action items and decision making from that data.
Yep, exactly. A solution that is really developed for larger field sizes, kind of broad acre crop production. We feel like we are one of the first ones that have really focused on large acre first. A lot of the other irrigation solutions are more, focused on smaller, high margin crops, and then they try to move it into row crop. And we kind of flip that. And so we're a very cost effective, scalable solution, whether you want to do one field or the entire operation. It's pretty much the same amount of work, right? We need very little to get going. We need to know where the field's at, what crop is there, when it was planted, and then throughout the growing season, just feedback about how much water is being applied. Either we can pull that data from a telemetry system if there is one on that field, or we can kind of manual entry into our app, but that kind of is a feedback into the modeling. But that's really it. So it's a really easy solution to get going on. There's not a lot of upfront cost or work to get going on it.
So as you're getting into your second commercial season, generally speaking, what is your pricing structure? Or how do you bid pricing to a growing customer?
Yeah, so we actually launched a dealership network this year. Last year in our first commercial season, I was just kind of going to my network and everybody I knew. But this year we were a little bit more organized, had a little bit more time to prepare for the season. We were able to launch a dealership network. So we do work through agronomists or consultants, and they bring our services to their customers. For the agronomist, makes their job easier. It helps them be more efficient and better at providing irrigation recommendations. It's definitely an advantage for the agronomist. Our retail price is $4.50 an acre, $4.50 an acre per season. I always have to qualify that because I once had somebody be like, $450 an acre, what?
Okay.
No, $4.
That would be alarming to most growers. Yeah.
Yes. So per growing season, And that's kind of information every day throughout the growing season. And obviously with the dealer model, there's a little bit of cut for the dealers. But yeah.
And where do you have dealers now?
So we have dealers. We're pretty heavily based in Nebraska yet, but we do have dealers out to Illinois, down to Texas, and some dealers that kind of bleed over into eastern Colorado. The beauty of what we do is that we're not geographically limited. We don't have to have, enough in a certain area to get going. If I had a dealer or somebody that was interested in Georgia, we could, get that going. So, we can be super flexible that way, and that wherever we have somebody interested, it's really easy for us to get going.
Great. Well, thanks, Jesse, for your time today, and we hope that we can help you make some connections out there in the grower world.
I very much appreciate it.